All right. Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Fridays on the Consistency Corner podcast. I'm really excited to have my friend Kristin Fisher back. Kristin is my favorite person to chat all about the retail world with, as the owner of the gifting brand Boku and the host of the podcast Buyer Side Chat, where she is your back pocket buyer helping product-based businesses increase their sales basically by getting in front of the right customers. I just made that up off the top of my head. So go me that I'm going
Perfect.
to introduce you without a script or anything. But
I'm impressed.
I love chatting with Kristin. She's one of my favorite Voxer buddies to go back and forth with just about life. And we are going to talk about client loyalty today and gifting, which is super relevant for this time of year. You might be thinking about, if you haven't already sent client gifts, what am I supposed to do? How do I handle this? Like, I'm running out of time. But we're going to talk about some other behind the scenes things of entrepreneur life. Kristin, thank you so much for being here. I know I mentioned Buyer Side Chat and Boku, but just share with everybody an update what you've been up to and how things are going for you in 2023.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. I love chatting with you, and I feel like we have such good conversations whenever you're on my podcast or I'm on yours. So I appreciate you bringing me back. If you haven't listened to any prior episodes, I am the founder of Boku. It's a gift box brand. We've been around for about 5.5 years now, and we really specialize in client and employee gifting, really specifically client gifting. And we also have, our e-commerce side where you can send a single gift to, for personal gifting as well, but really client gifting is our sweet spot. And then I also support other product-based business owners. I was a buyer in corporate retail for 15 plus years. And whenever I left corporate to go full time on Boku, I realized that some of those skill sets that I had really gained and learned during my corporate life were so needed for small product-based business owners that are creatives and kind of found themselves with a business that was scaling and resonating with customers. And so there was that whole financial piece of things, not just financial, but just understanding, assorting, and optimizing your product and really turning your hobby into a creative, profitable business. So I do that as well on the coaching side. So Get the Buyer Side Chat is my podcast, and Kristin Fisher Coaching is that handle too. So I do a couple of things, and 2023 has been actually really great for me. I've been challenging myself in a lot of ways, trying some new things. On the Boku side, getting really clear on who I'm speaking to, and which I think that you will appreciate, Ruthie, because I've been just kind of trying to figure out, where is my niche? There are so many gift box brands out there, and there's a place for all of us. There's room for all of us, but Boku really specializes in packaging and this unboxing gift wrap experience, in addition to product that is sourced from women and minority owned brands and giving back and really just like finding my voice. So it's been a challenging year, but in a good way. My sales are up to last year. I feel like things are going good into Q4. So this is airing in December, so I will probably be like crying in a corner from exhaustion, but that would be the best kind of tears by the time this
Gifts,
airs. So
the elf behind the scenes, sending off those gifts,
yes.
making people's day.
Yes.
Well, I know that you have done some different things this year in terms of like rebranding the podcast, and you
Mhm.
said about niching down and really getting super clear about who you're talking to. Talk to me a little bit about that, like balancing two businesses. Like, I know this is not the point of today's podcast, but I think it's an important conversation because
Yeah.
at one point you and I had a conversation. This was probably 3 or 6 months ago when I launched Unfiltered Fridays. And I'm like, hey, will you be on the show? And you're like, no, I'm too busy. And I was like, good for you. I am proud of you for setting and holding to your boundaries. So talk to me a little bit about that, like having to set boundaries to be able to take care of yourself.
I mean, well, I will say that it's a constant struggle, but I think it's why I feel like I'm in a good place right now, because when you did reach out to me before, obviously we are friends. I love you. I would do anything for you. So I was uncomfortable saying no, because saying no is very hard for me. I say yes to everything. I want to support everybody. I want to be on everybody's podcast. I want to do all the things, but I also then do all the things and then I'm left depleted. And so I really had a kind of like a come to Jesus with myself about 6 months ago, and I was just like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You are so overwhelmed. You are on this hamster wheel." Do I feel like I'm off the hamster wheel? Not really, no. But do I feel like I have better boundaries for myself? Yes. And it's not that I'm saying no to things I don't wanna do, it's saying I don't have capacity. So, I think that for me, it's just been getting really clear on, like, what my goals are, what my desires are. Clearly, I'm multi-passionate. I think probably everybody listening to this is. If you're in business for yourself, you are a motivated person. You're probably type A to some degree. You want to do all the things. And sometimes that leaves you depleted when you're constantly getting these ideas and taking action and going after them. But I found that I was doing a lot of things and nothing really well. And I definitely wasn't taking care of myself. And so that's just been more the forefront of my mind. And so I've kind of taken the approach with the two businesses now the way that I did when I was still working in corporate. So I launched Boku while I was still a buyer in corporate retail. So this was a side project. I did it at night and on the weekends, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. It was, I would call it a hobby business that I just wanted to play around with. And so I just treated it like a couple hours. I put it in like a compartment and focused on my corporate job. And then as it was growing, that became harder and harder to do. So then that's when I stepped away. So I'm treating my two businesses now kind of like that, where Boku is now my corporate job, meaning majority of my focus has to be on the established business, and the coaching business, the podcast, supporting clients is like the small mini project that I'm nurturing on the side. And doing that in my brain has helped me to kind of look at them in a way that makes sense for me, where I can balance it a little bit better and prioritizing myself. So saying not right now to things has helped to serve me, because then it keeps me focused on those goals as much as I can.
Yeah. I love what you said, doing all the things and doing none of them well. And
Mhm.
that I was in a position when I was in corporate that I felt like that. Like in my
Mhm.
corporate job, I was doing all the things and none of them well. And then about a year ago, I was looking at my own business and seeing that I was recreating my corporate job, where I was like taking on
Yeah.
too many projects, trying to do too
Yep.
many things, doing none of them well, and then frustrated that like I wasn't growing. And for
Mhm.
me, it was like, okay, I've got to figure out how can I build my offer suite to not do that? How can I start to build out a
Mhm.
team to not do that? And I know for you, that's something that you've worked on in the last year or so is like, how can I add to my team? Who do I add? What's the right role? What
Mhm.
systems do I need to have in place to set that person up for success? So talk to me about how like adding to your team or outsourcing has supported some of these boundaries that you've been able to set.
Yeah, I think, I think everybody probably faces this to some degree, but I was like, I need help. I'm just going to bring in someone that I know is fantastic and is going to be able to really just help me. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out as I go, which we have to all do.
Mhm.
There is an element of like, you just figure it out. But what I found was that I got through my really busy season and I was still super depleted. And when I looked back at it, I recognized that I didn't strategically hire in roles and set those people up for success, but also set myself up to actually be able to take things entirely off my plate. And I'm still working through this, but I've just approached the outsourcing or the teams that I've been hiring in ways that are actually going to be needle movers.
Mhm.
So what is something that can entirely come off of my plate? So I hired about 4 months ago, I hired an account manager for Boku that takes care of all the communication in supporting the custom gifting clients that come through, because I found that that was taking up so much of my time. I was like, completely attached to my inbox at all times, trying to give the best client and customer experience to the custom gifting customers that were coming in for all those projects. So that was something that I recognized would help not only my business grow, but would also give me relief. And I think that those two things are how I'm looking at any decision I'm making for outsourcing. So what is something that can be taken off my plate in its entirety that would give me relief, but would also help to grow the business. So that's every time I'm bringing somebody in, I'm trying to focus on that. I'm also really I love the book, Buy Back Your Time. So I finished listening to that this summer. I'm actually going to probably listen to it again. Um, it really talks through like how to value your time and your areas of expertise, and just recognizing that, like, yes, you can do all the things in your business. You can do every role. But if you do every role, again, you're probably not doing them all very well, or you're not focusing on the next big thing the way that you could be. You're missing opportunity. You're feeling drained. And so it's just kind of continuing to evaluate that. So every quarter, I've been looking at, like, how is this working? How is this functioning?
Well,
What's coming down the pipeline?
yeah, we said, before we hit record, we were talking about the like creative capacity. And when you're a business
Mhm.
owner, you are either likely solving a problem or you're creating
Mhm.
something new. And it's not even sometimes about the time, but it's about the like energy and brain power. And so if you're
Yeah,
answering emails 24/7 and you're trying to take care of your customers because you care, then you don't have the creative capacity to think about the next thing. And
definitely.
that's where, like, in a scaling scenario, it's hard to like understand that because you're right. You think I can answer emails. Why do I need to hire somebody to answer my emails? But you don't realize that answering those emails is weighing you down so that you're maybe not even seeing like the next thing or the solution that
Yep.
you've been searching for.
Yeah, and also just something as simple as task switching. Obviously, I think everybody here has heard about batching your time, but there are some risks, I would say, whenever you get so focused on batching out your day or batching out your days, or time blocking. It's more time blocking, I think, is the word I was looking for. If you're like, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to do this project, and then I'm going to take a 30-minute break, and then I'm from this time to this time, I'm going to do this project. When you're switching between different things, each time you do that, there's like a 20% drop in your productivity.
Mhm,
And so for me, I have to really dedicate whole days to the different businesses, which is
mhm,
not, it's way easier said than done. But Boku is one thing, coaching is another thing. They're very different. Within Boku, I have the e-commerce side, I have the custom gifting projects and clients. There's, all these different components. So I try to be cognizant of like how a whole day, the theme for a day
mhm.
is set so that my brain just stays in that flow state. So I'm not like dropping productivity.
Yeah. Well, and I remember you and
Because
I
I think that
having
that's
we were having a conversation in Voxer about this, about like creative capacity and like white space and for problem solving. And you shared that like
Mhm.
when you were early in your corporate days as a buyer, you like shared cubicle space with executive assistants for people that
Mhm.
were like assistants for like C-suite or executive
Yeah.
level. And like
Yeah.
you when you're 25 and somebody is having to make appointments for a CEO to like get a spray tan, you're like, God, that must be nice. But then when you become
Yeah.
a business owner and you have to solve these problems and think through these things, it's like, oh my God, could somebody just make my doctor's appointment for me? Could somebody
Yeah.
think about those things so I don't
Yeah.
have to think about it?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm not there yet with having someone book my spray tans, but
Yeah, same.
goals.
Well, my husband and I had that conversation too when we were talking about travel at one point. He'll say things like, "Well, we should like go away for a weekend." And I was like, "You know what? When you say that, it actually gives me anxiety because what that means is Ruthie plan a trip." And like, I don't have the capacity to plan a trip. And so I don't, or, find the babysitter and do the research and figure it out. Like, yes, all those things should be
Mhm.
fun. But when your brain is to the max because you haven't set boundaries, because you're trying to do it all, planning a trip doesn't even sound fun. And so that's actually one thing that
Yeah.
I want to ask you about because we were talking about like, I work all the time. I don't know what fun is. You like me have to schedule fun. So
Yes.
what has that
Yes.
looked like for you, and how has at least trying to make fun a priority helped you?
Well, I mean, yes, I have to schedule fun, but I am trying to be more cognizant with how I create space for myself just in my day to day. So over the summer, I bought a bunch of stuff for for painting, because I used to love doing that a long time ago and I haven't done it forever. So I've been trying to create like little pockets of joy for myself throughout my week. I really love taking baths. I know that sounds weird, but like I've been trying to just give myself a couple days a week something that's just like fully for myself, that's kind of unplanned, as needed. And that is, I think, that alone is helping me to gain some perspective on leaving space in your life to actually enjoy your life and to have fun. But with that said, I do try and look out when I'm doing my like quarterly planning. I do try and say, okay, I'm going to make an effort at least once a month to have something fun planned.
Yeah.
Like I went to the Eras movie with my friend opening weekend, and like 3 weeks before that when the tickets went on sale, I was like, "All right, this is gonna be my October fun day.
Yeah.
Are you available?" And I will say, like, leading up to it, so it was a Sunday evening, like 5:30, because that's the only tickets we could find in the area for that weekend, and literally the day before and the day of, I was like, "I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. Why am I going to see the Taylor Swift movie? Like, I'm an adult. What am I doing?" And then I had so much fun, and it was like I survived. I still got all the things done. So
Yeah.
by scheduling it, you really force yourself to do something, because if you leave everything up to chance, you're probably always going to find an excuse for, I need to do my laundry. I have to do this. I have to pack my kids' lunches for the week. I have to do this for my business. Like there's always something that you're going to find
Yeah.
to replace that time if you don't schedule it out. So I'm trying to do a combination and not try and do too many things. I think especially the holidays is tough. I have to say no to a lot of things just by nature of my business. And that is usually, I feel very resentful at the end of the quarter. So I'm really trying this year to set myself up for more success during the week with taking more off of my plate, bringing more people in to help me so that I can actually have fun on the weekends and not feel burnout and resentful come Christmas.
Yeah.
That week between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So, okay, speaking of the holidays, gifting. This is what
Yes.
we wanted to talk
Yes.
about
Let's talk.
today. So, talk to me about why you think gifting is such an important piece of customer experience and client loyalty, and how it can really help you elevate your brand if you do it right.
I mean, I think, first of all, I think it is so important just to think about your client or your customer. So if you're a service provider or a coach, just think about, like, put yourself in their shoes and think about what makes you feel really kind of cared for whenever you invest in somebody else.
Mhm.
Because it's so easy to think about your business like, I want more profit, I want to scale, all those things that we think about. And if you take the human element out of that, you're then either you're not able to scale because you don't create that loyal customer base, or you're just left with kind of like a churn where you're constantly trying to get, new people in, which I guess is kind of the same thing. So that human element, I think, is where gifting comes into play, but also it's your full client experience that has to be, I think, taken into account. And it's not just about the gifts, and it's not just about your email sequence when you onboard somebody. It's kind of that whole package.
Mhm.
And so with the day and age that we're living in, where everybody is online and there's so many coaches and service providers out there is room for you to grow and scale, but you want to think about like what is going to make you stand out.
Mhm.
And a way to do that is through gifting at an ideal touch point. So where it makes sense for you in your flow of whatever service you're offering, whatever coaching package you're offering, think about when a gift would be the most well received from the person that you're working with. And I think that that's how you really can stand out. And then elevating it is just finding somebody to do it for you. Because so many of the people that we come to, or that come to us, are like, I love gifting. I've been doing it for myself for so long. And it's just like, it just doesn't look great. It's to the point where like I'm growing so much, I can't keep doing it. I want it to look better. So finding somebody that actually does it, that can have your brand represented well, will help you to really take that off of your plate. Going back to the outsourcing conversation,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
and not I love what you said about the right touch point, because
mhm,
I always think about gifting in terms of like the holidays, but it
mhm,
could very much be from an ongoing perspective, like a surprise and delight after a service is purchased or after a service
mhm,
is delivered. And it doesn't
mhm.
have to be this big extravagant thing. I mean, yes,
No.
send a beaucoup, but you could also send a $10 Starbucks gift card. And like I literally in
Yep.
that, like, we were talking about white space the other day. I was driving and thinking about client experience and like these packages that I have. And I was like, okay, I got to think about the email nurture sequence, like after somebody checks out for their VIP day and what that looks like. And I was like, oh, I should send them an email like a day before their call with a Starbucks gift card. Like, I love to work in a
Mhm.
coffee shop. Have a coffee on me. So looking forward to our
Yep.
call tomorrow or whatever. And just those
Yeah.
little things that you don't have to wait till the holidays to appreciate and
Yep.
delight your client.
Yeah. I love I do someone did the coffee thing for me, and I now do that for my coaching clients too, like before our kickoff call. So I think the first thing when you're thinking just like about client experience, I know you didn't ask this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I'm just going to go into it. But you want to think about like, okay, everybody by human nature, no one likes to be surprised in a bad way. So when you are investing thousands of dollars to work with somebody or whatever it is, when you're investing significant money to work with somebody, you want to know what's coming. So you want your email sequence to let them know what they have kind of coming in. You can
Mhm,
drop them a coffee as that onboarding kind of kick off the call. It's like a little surprise and delight there. Then you could do something, let's say you have a 6-month retainer package. When's their birthday? Or do they have something, leave some room in your budget so that you can do something to treat them on a date that has nothing to do with you working together. It's just
mhm,
like a fun way to show them your appreciation. And then you can close with something so that you're kind of like bookending it. So you have some touch points that are not, it's not all business all day,
mhm.
so you can kind of create that element. So I always recommend that you just look at what your budget for gifting could be and split it up so
Yeah.
that you're not dumping all your budget into one gift box.
Mhm,
Of course, I would love to help bring this amazing, huge gift box to life for you, but you can probably spread it out a little bit so that you have room in your budget to gift them at different times. It can also be a free, like, bonus resource. Like, it doesn't have to be a physical product or a
mhm,
true gift. You could
mhm.
think about it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And then the holidays, like when you're thinking about like the touch point of end of year, like if someone worked with you throughout the whole year, the holidays or even the new year is a really great time to gift. I know, some people, I think you had done this last year, the Thanksgiving
Mhm.
gift, like that gratitude appreciation gift is great. I know this episode will be airing after that, but for next year when you're planning out your year, think about like when would make sense for you to just kind of treat them at the end of the year if you have it in your budget. And if you don't, you can goal to work towards that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that if you have it in your budget, because
Mhm.
as we're building our business, I get this question a lot of like, well, how much of my budget should I spend? How much of my revenue should I spend on marketing? Or how much should I spend on
Mhm.
this or that? And the answer is it depends. Every business
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
different. But talk to me a little bit about, because I'm facing this in my business, the difference in a gift for a retainer client who is literally spending tens of thousands of dollars with me versus like a
Mhm.
VIP day client that maybe spent 1,000. Like they probably
Mhm.
shouldn't get the same gift, but how do you
Right.
manage the logistics behind that?
Yeah. So, I usually say like you can take percentages to be this is like my gifting budget, but that's going to vary. So you want to have different tiers of those percentages. So, I would say like 3 to 10% is like a good range, but
Mhm.
you want to really think about like what that client is investing in and also what do you want them to feel when they walk away from working with you? And do you want them to come back and work with you again? So
Mhm.
I'm not saying you're buying their business, but if you have a VIP client, VIP day client that comes in and they're working with you, 1 day turnaround for a big project and it's like one and done, but you have other services that you could provide them where they could become, as they grow,
Mhm.
they could come back to you and work with you ongoing. You don't want to send them a $10, like just a $10 coffee or something. If you're like, this is a VIP day, they probably deserve a little bit. And I say deserve, meaning like you could gift them a little bit more because you're saying, I genuinely appreciate you. You just gave me $1,000 out of your business. You should probably spend like $50 on
Mhm.
them,
Mhm.
50 to $75. Like, think about that. If you have someone that's doing tens of thousands of dollars with you, they need to get a really big end of year gift. They need to get an onboarding gift. You need to check in, have touch points with them. Like, you really need to nurture them. And it's not all about just like gifting, 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 but it's how do you create a unique experience with them so that they come and continue to work with you going forward because they feel valued.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many times I've invested in something and been left feeling like my couple $1,000, did they even care about that? Like, and I think I'm extra sensitive to it because I'm like, I care about I'm a gifting person, clearly, but I am so fortunate to have this front row seat to so many different business owners and their client experience because they've trusted us with gifting for them. So
Mhm.
I see how to do it right, and I help people strategize for their own businesses how to do that in a way that makes sense for their business. And so you never want a client to feel unappreciated because you probably really appreciate them,
Mhm.
but you want them to walk away being like, not only did I get more than I expected from my service, or I'm walking away feeling so appreciated from a coaching perspective, but also like I feel really valued.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, like, knowing what people appreciate. So, and that's where it
Mhm.
like becomes a really good balance of like the gift should represent your brand because
Yep.
it is a representation and an extension of you. But then also
Yep.
understanding what does the client value in terms of like if they don't drink coffee, don't send coffee. Like, don't
Yeah.
send a coffee package to a client who doesn't drink coffee. Or, if
Yeah.
they are like, I'm just thinking about like somebody who's like a health and wellness, all about non-toxic and like sustainability. Don't send them a candle from Bath and Body Works, like because they're gonna be like, ew,
Yeah.
no. So that
Yeah.
balance, and I think if you're really clear on your brand values, you're gonna attract people that are in
Exactly.
alignment with the types of gifts that you want to give and receive, which just that's like another layer of kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to bring up that we were chatting about before we hit record was like tech projects. And a lot of times, what we're talking about with this like client experience and touch points is like what can be automated so that we're not
Mhm.
mentally having to remember to send that Starbucks gift card, to send that onboarding gift, to send that thank you gift. Like, talk to me a little bit about how we can use tech or how you use tech or some of your clients use tech to make this process simpler.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you have any type of project management system, ClickUp, Asana, Monday.com, even if it's a Google Sheet, a spreadsheet that you use, every time you get a new client, update their kind of checklist essentially and make sure it's on your calendar or your assistant's calendar so that things like that you have to kind of manually do are you can remember to do them. Sometimes you can also, I mean, obviously your emails and all of that can be automated. For me, when I book a client, I immediately go in and I order their birthday flowers before like months in advance. I'm like, okay, I have made sure that I did the coffee is checked off. I have their birthday flowers scheduled. The boku, I just know because I'm living it every day. I'll send them a boku at the end. So kind of rinsing and repeating as much as you can so that it's like not having to recreate the wheel. So, a spreadsheet with how much you gift and when you're gifting so you never have to remember if you gifted a client, we get a lot of people that say we recently moved over to ClickUp because we wanted people to have visibility to their to all of their information. And a lot of people are like, can you tell me if I gifted this client? I can't remember. So kind of having your own system for organizing that so that you're not questioning and you don't have to even use up your brain space for that. But
Mhm.
I think really leveraging your project management tool and just having a template that you can just copy paste SOP, whatever, however you want to view it, so that you can hand it off to somebody else and they could take care of it for you. Or if you're not at that point yet, you can do it yourself without having to really think about it because it's just like on your calendar.
Yeah. Oh, ClickUp. I want to love ClickUp. I want it to work for me. But I set it up last year. I bought a ClickUp course last holiday and set up all the things. I probably took about half of the course, and then I had some templates too, and I set them up. And then after I broke my leg this year, and then like my business like just started to evolve even more over this, early spring and summer, I like gave up on ClickUp. I was like, this is too much. I can't do it.
It's hard.
Can't look in here. So I need to.
I will say I'm having a hard time using ClickUp for my personal workflow,
Mhm.
but it's working really well from a client perspective, from my team. So the people that are on my team that have access to ClickUp, it's working very well.
That's
So
interesting. That's what
I
one of my coaches, she said about ClickUp. She's like, my team couldn't survive without ClickUp. She's like, but I don't look
yeah,
in there. She's like, my to-do list is on
yeah.
my Apple Notes on my phone. Like,
Yeah. I think it's like finding what's right for you. I mean, I don't know that they necessarily use ClickUp for their own personal to-do list, but it works really well from a project flow, like a
Mhm.
true project management perspective. It works really well. All of the content for Boku and coaching is in there, and we're able to go back and forth, and it's just a perfect place to house everything,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily working for me yet for my personal workflow. I would love for it to. So
Yeah.
I'm goaling for that next year. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to chat about before we get to our wrap up questions. I did want to ask you about, you said something earlier about niching down. And that's
Mhm.
a conversation that comes up a lot with my clients and even on the podcast of like, once, we sometimes start way up here and we're like, my niche is business owners, like too broad,
Everyone in the world.
too broad. And
Yeah.
then it's like female business owners, also too broad. Okay. So like talk to
Yeah.
me about maybe your like journey of niching down and how you got to where you are today, where you feel like you're talking to the right people.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a misconception with when you niche down, you're not isolating the general female business owner, for
Mhm.
example. You are just getting really clear on who you're speaking to, but you still could support and serve or whatever your business is. You could still support those other people outside your niche. It just helps you to get really clear on your marketing strategy. You're not like bouncing off the wall looking at a million different things. You're able to say, okay, this is who I'm speaking to. This is the strategy. I'm going after these keywords. My blog posts are going to be focused here. You start to get like streamlined and you're not kind of looking at the shiny object. You're
Mhm.
just like laser focused on it.
Mhm.
So for me, obviously, with Boku, gifting, we can gift for anybody. Okay. So we started out we did not have the custom gifting side of the business until like 2019 in Q4 is when that really started. So it was just if you have a need for a personal gift, and then that became really hard from an inventory
Mhm.
perspective. So I had to get more and more articulated with who I was trying to target just on the e-commerce side. And then as the client and corporate gifting started evolving, I realized, okay, there's opportunity for anybody. If you have an event, if you have a this, if you have a that, you can come to me and we'll do custom gifts for you. And then it just became like this sea of anyone could come. I wasn't really targeting an exact person. Since I've launched, there's been so many gift box brands that have launched that are all doing kind of the same messaging with corporate and client gifting.
Mhm.
Okay, so this year I realized my growth has really been coming from word of mouth, female entrepreneurs that are service providers, that have clients, that are business coaches. Like that is where the word of mouth growth has come from. And all the interaction we're having on social is coming from those women just organically. So it was a really natural place for me to be like, this is a way for us on social to really focus our messaging and gear towards female entrepreneurs, service providers that have a need for client gifting. And
Mhm.
so that kind of organically happened, like you were saying, you just start to naturally see where the road is leading you. But I still have, law firms. Actually, they're female owned. So it's still actually serving me, but I
Mhm.
have corporate clients still coming to me, but it has that twist of like, we are a woman owned business. We support other women and minority owned brands through the product that we carry.
Mhm.
Like that's important to us and that's not going away. So it's like niching down with who you're attracting and also how you're showing up as a brand and what you're doing with your product business, like how that comes through with your product. So that's a
Yeah.
whole other conversation,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
and when you talk to everybody, no one listens, and when you get
Mhm.
really, really specific on who you talk to, other people listen in. So it's that,
Yeah.
like, exercise of just continuing to
Yep.
narrow, and I think what's interesting from a marketing perspective is if, like, as a CEO, you really know who your ideal client is, if you go to outsource your marketing or get support with content or marketing, that is going to pay off tenfold because the person that you bring in is going to be able to hit the ground running versus like
Yeah.
them trying to figure out or help you figure out. Like I even worked with a copywriter earlier this year on our Done For You 9 Grid services after I had launched it. Because when I launched it, I was like, oh, we're launching this for the person who is tired of creating content. She's on the content hamster wheel and she wants to get off. Well, then after we sold some packages, I realized that's not who it's for at all. It's for the person who isn't creating content and feels
Mm.
guilty about it and isn't getting to it and doesn't know what to do. And so when we were able to I was able to work with a copywriter and truly tell her that, our sales copy got so much better. The sales page got so
Yeah.
much clearer. But if I had just gone to her and said, like, hey, help me write a sales page, I don't really know who it's for, it wasn't going to resonate the same way. And you as a business owner, like have an obligation to figure that out of who your person is. And that doesn't mean it's easy. It's just that's something
Yeah.
that you have to keep narrowing in on and working through.
Yeah, and I think the key there with what you were just saying is that you have to keep doing it. You have to be open to continuing to refine it and iterating on it. It's iterating on the offer to figure out what sticks, and then once it works, like fine tuning it further. And when you're niching down, figuring out or being open to figuring out how to go deeper and
Mhm.
to connect with them more. Like I don't have it fully figured out yet, but I do feel like I have clarity from that regard that I'm very happy, going into Q4 that I've been able to do that because we're seeing leads have increased significantly in the last, you know, 2 to 3 months going into Q4 versus where I was at with leads this time last year when I was talking to everybody.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing that benefit already from a leads perspective because I'm saying, hey, we are here to support female entrepreneurs, blah, 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 blah. I'm very clear on who I'm speaking to, and I'm teeing up my product in a way that is speaking to them. The catalog has a more feminine spin on it because most of the people coming in are looking for a gift to gift out to their wellness clients, to their marketing clients. So, there's there's a more holistic approach to everything whenever you feel clear on who you're niching down to.
Yeah. And for you, it sounds like it's gotten a little bit easier because you're not having to
Yeah,
stock as many pieces. And
definitely.
I'm thinking about that for our retainer services, our, true like content strategy and implementation where we do everything for you. I'm niching
Mhm.
into serving service providers who serve retailers. And that's
Mhm.
a super specific niche. And yes, I could still help
Yeah.
you if you're a realtor or a doctor or a therapist or whatever.
Yeah.
But like niching into that, we as a team are going to be able to be more efficient, more effective, have more creative ideas because we're not all over the place trying to serve
Yeah.
and attract multiple, niches.
Yeah. If someone lands on your website or on your Instagram, they should be able to tell what you do and who you speak to within like 2 seconds,
Mhm.
not even.
Yeah.
People's attention spans are shorter and shorter. So, like, you don't wanna be messing around with trying to talk to 50 different people. You want someone to land on your page and be like, "Oh, this is me. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll keep reading.
Mhm.
This is what
Absolutely.
this is, like, speaking to me."
Yeah,
So, yeah,
absolutely. Okay. Well, all right. I've got a couple get to know you fun questions. You and I could sit here and talk for hours. So I'm
I
gonna
know.
rein it in and wrap it up.
Rein it in.
What I want to ask is in the vein of having fun, I always love to ask our Unfiltered Friday guests, what is a bingeable show that you would recommend? Either something you've watched recently, something you're watching now. Like, what's your
Oh my
go-to
god, I can't
show?
wait.
Like,
Felicity. I never watched Felicity, and I started watching and I'm obsessed. I can't believe I didn't watch this. This is right up my
I
alley.
don't think I watched it either. I
Ruthie?
need to check it
Okay,
out.
well, it's game over now. It is so good. It's like it holds up. It gives you all the feels. It's like fall in New York City, takes you back to like the 90s. And I mean, I wasn't in college in the 90s, but like if I was like in high school in the 90s. So I still feel a little connected to it, but it's so good. I mean, I think it's so good. I can't believe I haven't watched it. It's on Hulu. It was on Amazon Prime, and I had just finished season 1, and then they took it off of Prime, and I was like, "Oh my god, am I gonna have to buy the next 3 seasons of Felicity?" And it's on Hulu,
Oh
so
my gosh. That
price is
actually makes me
averted.
think of I've been meaning to watch this and I never did. The redo of Gossip Girl.
It's not great.
It's not okay. Don't
I
spend
tried.
time on that.
I'll spare you. Just watch Felicity.
Okay.
I tried really hard to like it, and it's not the same.
Yeah. The original one was
It's
so
not the same.
good.
It's yes, I mean, that's still bingeable, I think.
Yes. Yes, for sure. That's fine. Okay. So along with your bingeable show, what is your go-to bingeable snack right now?
Oh, okay. Well, this isn't very exciting because I'm trying to eat healthier, but I've been really into the small cucumbers. What are they called? The little
English
baby
cucumbers? Is
cucumbers.
that what they're called?
No, they're like the little small ones.
I don't know.
Well, you could do an English cucumber too. So a seedless cucumber, let's just go there,
Okay.
with good culture cottage cheese and everything bagel seasoning on top.
Oh, that
It
sounds
gives you like
really
the
good.
crunch, protein, vegetable. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my thing right now. Not very exciting,
That sounds
but
good. I'll have to
it
try
is
that.
good.
I also need to eat more vegetables, so that's a good add cheese.
I'm like, this is not good, but
But yeah, it's your
yeah.
go-to. Okay, so along with your go-to snack, I always love to ask your favorite adult beverage right now and non-adult beverage.
Well, let's see. Favorite adult beverage. I'm just a red wine girl. So I really like like a slightly chilled Pinot Noir. I really like that year round. Actually, I'm a weirdo that drinks red wine in the summer as well as in over the holidays. Um, and actually, I also really love mulled cider, whether it has alcohol or not in it. But like getting a really good cider from, you know, a market or some place that's actually like making really good cider and then mulling it yourself again. I love doing that. It makes your house smell really good.
Mhm.
I could drink cider year round, honestly, when I think about it, but it's like a very good like holiday cocktail. I've
Yes.
also seen, I haven't done this yet, but have you seen on TikTok whenever people take the glasses and they freeze the rosemary in it so it looks like a tree, a Christmas
Oh,
tree,
oh, that sounds
so
fun.
that yeah, so you like have it frozen and then you pour your cocktail on top so it looks like you have a Christmas tree in your glass.
Yes. So that's a good
That will be my, like,
Christmas
Christmas
vibe.
cocktail.
Yes. Add a little
Yeah.
like sugared cranberry on there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
I make a Christmas sangria because I don't like red wine. I try, but I don't like it. But I've
Yeah.
made a Christmas sangria that has cranberries in it, and so then it gets that like holiday
The
vibe.
reds, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
seasonal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then okay, so then my last question: we love to talk about travel because I love to travel. So, what's a recent trip that you took that you would recommend, or a trip you're planning that you're looking forward to?
Well, I haven't gone on a lot of big trips this year, but except for over New Year's. So we're actually coming up upon this, but this past New Year's, so right after Christmas, my husband and I went with a couple of friends. So we have a group of friends that we do 40th birthday trips. So every time someone turns 40, we go to Europe. We go somewhere really big and fun. And we went to the Italian Alps. And so we spent New Year's in the Italian Alps at the spa. We went up to Switzerland on this train. So I still am kind of like dreaming about that like European Christmas time period. So if you haven't done that trip, I would recommend going to Europe over the holidays for sure. But really doing like a snowy, wintry trip
Mhm.
was very fun. And I still think about that. Like Champagne, looking at the Swiss Alps on New Year's, like you really can't ring in the new year any better than that.
Yes. That sounds amazing. Well, Kristin, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. If people are interested
Thank
in
you.
connecting with you, learning more, where do you hang out online?
You can just find me. So for Boku, you can check me out. It's at Shop Boku, ShopBocu. So that's the website, shopboku.com or Instagram. I would love to give you guys 10% off your holiday gifts. If you want to check us out, you can use code consistency through the end of the year. So we'll link that. I'll give that link to you to put in your show notes. And if you're interested on the retail coaching side, you could check out the Buyer Side Chat podcast, or Kristin Fisher Coaching is my Instagram handle.
Awesome. Yay. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for being
So
here.
fun. Thank you.